Hey, good Monday morning, my friends. MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa here with the MLive Morning Weather Update. Hot weather today for all of us. And in the grand scheme of things, the very hot weather will break down fairly quickly, it looks like. It looks like we transition out of near 100 degrees as we go into Wednesday and Thursday. So you got to get through a couple of days in the southern half of lower Michigan. And bear in mind, when you've got a hot dome of air and a jet stream or a path of wind energy over the top of that and disturbances, you're going to have clumps of thunderstorms. And because of the energy in that heat, any one of them can be strong to severe. So we'll be watching that for you, and let's get into it. We're going to look out, we start looking toward 4th of July. What happened? But let's start with today. And this is the severe weather forecast for today. Back it up for you. So, hey, good morning, Henry and Meemaw. So here is the overall severe weather outlook for today on the upper left, and the yellow is the area where I would expect some scattered severe thunderstorms. That is, Ludington, Pentwater to near Alpena, through the Traverse City area, through Petoskey, Charlevoix, Sheboygan, Black Lake, Mullet Lake, up through the eastern two-thirds of the UP. Now, we go to the specifics over on the right, the green shaded, 2% chance of a tornado within 25 miles. So it's not, fortunately, a very high chance. And then we've got the severe wind outlook for today. Remember, a severe wind is officially defined as a 58 mile an hour wind or greater. Why they picked 58 miles an hour and not just 60, I have no idea. But meteorology does some really, I don't know what the word is, stupid things at times. And then the severe hail outlook also in the same spots. So radar shows that we are dry. Let me get it so that you can see it. Okay, so the radar shows that we're dry. I thought I'd show you a couple of things here. Satellite imagery, lots of hot sunshine. We have what's called a capped atmosphere. Let me go over this just a little bit because I do have a little special in-depth graphic for you. A capped atmosphere. So when we develop thunderstorms, you look at the thunderstorms coming from the west. What's happening? These thunderheads are building taller and taller. And if you're a sky lover like I am, and a lot of you are, you see the clouds building higher and higher. That's a thunderstorm. That's the rising current of air because it's hot at the surface. That air is buoyant, rises, turns into a thunderstorm. When we're so hot aloft, that air at the surface can't rise. Even if it's 95 at the surface, it's hot enough aloft to cap that. So that's a capped atmosphere. We're capped today. Southern half of lower Michigan probably capped tomorrow. Wednesday and Thursday, the cap erodes. In other words, gets a little cooler aloft and thunderstorms can pop gradually farther south. So I'm going to show you actually the temperature at the cap level where we use that, and you'll see what I'm talking about here. But one real good way to see it is by looking at the satellite imagery, and you just see clear skies. And I thought I'd fan out to the U.S. Look at where the hot dome of air is over the eastern half of the U.S., and it is just clear as a bell. Now, if you look back to the northwest, that's the disturbance in Minnesota that could swing through with thunderstorms in northern lower Michigan, Traverse City, second half of the evening, let's call it. I'll show that to you in just a minute. And then there are more disturbances out there in the mountains. They've actually had snow out in Montana in the last couple of days. That won't happen for us. But those disturbances will eventually knock down this dome of hot air aloft. And this is what I'm showing you. This is the dome. So I've been showing you this for several weeks now, right? What I'm noticing on my app is that when an ad kicks in, a YouTube ad kicks in, I lose you for a minute and I've got to shut it down and then come back to you. So I apologize if you get some breaks in there. All right, so this is right. This is right now. This is the mid levels of the atmosphere. This is the big high pressure ridge that we've been forecasting for a week to 10 days now. And so let's go into the future. Let's go into this afternoon. Still a big closed dome of hot air and high pressure aloft. Now we go to Wednesday morning and afternoon, and you'll notice that the ridge starts to erode. It's still there. The surface air can still be hot, but you'll notice that the westerlies are starting to increase, and here come those disturbances. Now, this is Thursday morning and afternoon, and the ridge is breaking down, and then this is actually Saturday, and you can kind of see a little bend in the jet stream coming over Michigan. So that's going to be a solid disturbance. And this is a severe weather pattern, by the way, depending on the timing and the clumps of the storms. They're very fast. These are lines of storms that blow through. Now, June 30th, we go to July 1st. Uh-oh. Cold 4th of July? No, I don't think so. This is a disturbance early next week. That could be a severe weather maker. It would be a cold front, would drop us back to highs in the 70s to low 80s. Now we go to July 3rd, July 4th. The atmosphere warmth is building a touch, but nothing like what we have right now. Let's just look at the comparison. This is July 4th, and that would be a classic upper 70s to mid 80s type thing. We can't time the thunderstorms, so there are thunderstorms embedded in this flow, 1 to 2 hours in any one spot. We can't time that just yet, so we'll look at that. But this is now, and this is July 4th. Okay. And then we go out to July 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th. No signs of the hot dome coming back, and so it looks like we go into some classic 80-degree temperatures for Michigan weather. So in the grand scheme of things, I'm calling this relatively short-lived, although we're going to have 3 or 4 days near 100 degrees in Detroit and Ann Arbor and the southern third of the state. Here's the radar forecast for today. This is 6 tonight, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in Traverse City area, and Petoskey, and Charlevoix, and Manistee, and Frankfort, if you're looking to know when severe weather and storms could hit, it looks like it's going to be in the evening. It looks like it could be the second half of the evening. And even though it's hot and humid, there's not a lot of oomph, so to speak, to these. So as the night progresses, the storms probably dissipate. Here's a model that goes a little bit farther out into the future, and I think it's handling the cap in the atmosphere better. This is 10 o'clock tonight, so it has the same timing. So we're talking about a second half of the evening thunderstorms that could be severe, weakening overnight. This is 7 tomorrow morning, 8, and pretty quiet tomorrow. I think you'll see a scattered thunderstorm in the forecast, northern lower Michigan, but probably not southern lower, probably still capped. We're going to get to that, I think, here in a second. This is Wednesday morning, early. And then this is Wednesday midday. So you can see that as the ridge kind of slowly gets beaten down, the clumps of thunderstorms start to drift a little farther south. All right, here it is. So, first off, you should know that most all meteorological data is in Celsius because that's what the rest of the world uses. So all of our upper air data is in Celsius. So we use about a temperature of plus 12 Celsius, plus 13 Celsius at the certain level. We call it 700 millibar level. It's about 10,000 feet up or something like that. We look at that as kind of the magical easy number for a capped atmosphere. And then when it starts to come down to 11 Celsius, 10, 9 Celsius, that means it's cooling aloft and the hot air at the surface can start rising. So I'm just showing you here little weather extra for you, all for the price of nothing. So this is this afternoon. Look at the temperatures aloft. And you know what's amazing about this is it's really warm, hot at 500 millibars, 30,000 feet up, but it's not correspondingly as hot at 10,000 feet up. But we're capped. There's your 11, 12, 13 Celsius. And then as we go into Tuesday afternoon, note that the temperatures come down to 9 or 10 degrees Celsius. Note that in northern lower Michigan comes down to 8, so we wouldn't be capped there. And then as we go into Wednesday, the air aloft continues to cool down to 7, 8 Celsius, something like that. We go into Thursday and no cap. And then the cap is pretty well gone after that. So let's look at the longer term. Remember, I told you we're going to kind of be in what we call the rim of fire of thunderstorms. So this is today, and this is tomorrow. This model wants to bring a clump of thunderstorms into the Saginaw Valley, into the Thumb, into Flint, and even Lansing tomorrow evening. Possible. And then this is Wednesday. The zone of storms maybe moves south, and that gets us out of the extreme heat just because of clouds and some showers around. You got to have total sunshine in Michigan for you to make a run at 100 degrees. By the way, I do think that Detroit City Airport observation could touch 100 degrees today or tomorrow, more likely 98 or so. That would be the first time, I do believe, since about 2012 that we've had a 100-degree reading in Michigan. Now here's Thursday, so I showed you we're going to start to get into that more numerous ring of fire. Here's Friday morning, and any of these clumps of thunderstorms with 80s and 90s around can be strong to severe. This is the weekend, and as we get out into the future, we really can't believe the timing of any of these things, except for the fact that there does appear to be a more definitive disturbance coming through sometime early next week, about Monday. I would watch that as our next widespread severe weather. We run it out to July 3rd, and right now it's appearing as though we're going to have a really nice 4th of July weekend. With this kind of flow, it won't be entirely dry, it won't be super, super hot, and it won't be super, super chilly. Here are the high temperature forecasts for today. Yeah, they're hot. We can get through this. Beautiful thing about Michigan is this kind of hot weather breaks down usually in 3 or 4 days. So this is today. We're looking at 95, 96, Grand Rapids, eastward into the Ann Arbor, Detroit area. I'll see, I lost you guys again. So what I have to do is, it seems like I have to go back to the original link and reconnect. It's kind of annoying, but again, these delivery methods like YouTube, just gotta do what you can do. Henry and Mima, Mark, if you have time, can you talk about the Say Someplace's experience this past weekend? Okay, a Seiche is when the water builds up ahead of the winds of a thunderstorm. Usually it starts over Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan is shaped to have a sage. So the water comes up, then it goes back down, then it comes back up like a bathtub sloshing. This is high temperature today. High temperature tomorrow. If the storms dominate the north, you stay in the 70s. I think that's a little cool. But it looks like we're still hot from Saginaw to Grand Rapids southward tomorrow. Here's Wednesday. If the storms become more numerous, it knocks Detroit and Ann Arbor and Grand Rapids out of the 90s to the upper 80s. Very, very humid, too. And then Thursday and Friday in the 90s will be poised just to our south. So if you get no storms in the middle part of the day and a little bit of southwest wind, Ann Arbor, Detroit, you'll be back to 90 degrees. Flirt with that. This is the weekend, 70s. And what we see then is a lot of highs in the 70s, 80s, maybe flirt with 90. For what it's worth, that's July 4th. We'd take that, wouldn't we? 85 to 90 everywhere. Certainly we would take that as the classic Michigan July 4th type weather pattern. So we'll be watching severe thunderstorms this evening, northwest lower eastern UP. More isolated, but with the heat and humidity, there's a lot of energy. So we'll keep an eye on that closely. And a couple of days of extreme heat in the south, and then it should break down. And there is a definitive end to highs near 100 degrees. Hey, there's your MLive morning weather update. I'm MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torgrosa. Thanks for joining me on this Monday. And we'll see you back here tomorrow or tonight if it's severe weather. Take care.